heated confrontation after a second-round match at the U.S. Open here in New York. After Jelena Ostapenko lost to Taylor Townsend, the two exchanging sharp words. Townsend saying Ostapenko accusing her of having no class.
Hold on to your seats because Taylor Townsend just dropped the legal bomb of the century on Jelena Ostapenko. And honey, this $50 million lawsuit is about to change everything we thought we knew about tennis drama. We're talking career-ending, consequences, brand deals evaporating overnight, and a reckoning that's been decades in the making. But before we dive into this absolute chaos, let me tell you exactly what Ostapenko said that crossed every line imaginable and why Taylor's response is being called the most savage yet justified move in professional tennis history. Picture this. It's the U.S. Open second round, and Taylor Townsend just absolutely demolished Jelena Ostapenko on the court. We're talking a complete domination, wiped the floor clean, left no doubt about who the better player was that day. But here's where things get ugly, and I mean really ugly. Instead of taking her loss with even a shred of dignity, Ostapenko decides this is the perfect moment to launch into what witnesses are calling some of the most disgusting, racist trash talk they've ever heard on a tennis court. And y'all, this wasn't just competitive fire or heat-of-the-moment frustration. This was calculated, nasty, and designed to hurt Taylor where it counts most. Now, Jelena Ostapenko has always had a reputation for being fiery on the court. We've seen her tantrums, her outbursts, her inability to control her emotions when things don't go her way. But this incident, this crossed every single line and then some. What she said to Taylor wasn't just rude or unsportsmanlike, it was straight-up racist, and the internet is having absolutely none of it. Fans who witnessed the confrontation are calling it exactly what it is: racist trash talk that has no place in professional sports, period. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Taylor Townsend, in that moment, showed the kind of grace and composure that would make champions weep. She didn't stoop to Ostapenko's level, didn't engage in a screaming match, didn't give the crowd the drama they might have expected. Instead, she handled it like the absolute class act she is. But don't mistake that composure for weakness, because Taylor's legal team just filed a $50 million lawsuit that's about to end Ostapenko's career as she knows it. The internet absolutely exploded when footage of the incident started circulating. Fans couldn't believe the contrast between these two players. On one side, you have Taylor showing incredible poise under the most disgusting kind of pressure. On the other, you have Ostapenko completely losing her mind and exposing herself as someone with some serious issues that go way beyond competitive spirit. The universal praise for Taylor's handling of the situation has been overwhelming, but so has the outrage at what Ostapenko thought she could get away with saying. Let's break down exactly what happened, because the details make this even more infuriating. After Taylor's dominant victory, instead of congratulating her opponent or at least walking away quietly, Ostapenko decided to get personal with some truly vile comments. She told Taylor she had no class and no education, and folks, if you don't immediately recognize these as racist dog whistles, let me educate you real quick. These aren't just random insults. This is the same script that's been used against black women and especially black athletes for decades. Think about it. Here's Taylor Townsend, a professional athlete at the highest level of her sport, someone who's worked her entire life to get where she is, someone who's overcome more obstacles than most people could even imagine. And Ostapenko has the audacity to question her education and class? The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. We're talking about criticism coming from someone who just threw a public tantrum after losing a tennis match, someone whose reputation is built more on her inability to control her emotions than her consistency as a player. This is exactly the kind of systematic diminishment that black athletes face constantly. No matter how talented, no matter how accomplished, no matter how professional they are, there's always someone ready to paint them as lesser than. And the fact that it's coming from Ostapenko, who's known more for her courtside meltdowns than her tennis achievements, makes it even more hypocritical and disgusting. But wait, it gets even better. Because Ostapenko realized she messed up big time and tried to do some damage control with what might be the worst apology attempt in tennis history. She posted this long Instagram story trying to explain herself, and honey, it just made everything worse. First, she tried to claim there was a language barrier issue with the education comment, which is absolutely laughable when you consider how perfectly articulate her English is every other time she opens her mouth. Then she went on this lengthy explanation about some netball incident, trying to make it seem like Taylor violated some sacred tennis etiquette rule. She's explaining tennis courtesy to people like we're all beginners who don't understand the sport. But here's the thing about tennis etiquette. It's about courtesy, not hard rules. And taking personal offense at something that minor, especially after losing a match, just screams sore loser behavior. The internet saw right through this pathetic excuse for an apology. Fans pointed out that her English comprehension seems just fine when she's giving interviews, making excuses, or apparently hurling insults at opponents. The language barrier excuse is convenient, but completely unconvincing. Plus, she apologized to her fans instead of to Taylor, which tells you everything you need to know about whether this apology was genuine or just more damage control. Industry experts weighed in too, and their assessment was brutal. Tom Tebbett, who knows tennis etiquette inside and out, confirmed what everyone already suspected. This wasn't about any serious rule violation. This was about Ostapenko being unable to handle losing and looking for any excuse to diminish Taylor's victory. The professional consensus was clear. This was sore loser behavior, plain and simple. And here's where this story gets even more disturbing. Because this isn't an isolated incident. There's a pattern here that people are finally starting to talk about openly. We've seen this same scenario play out with Eastern European players versus black tennis players multiple times. Remember Aryna Sabalenka's dismissive comments about Coco Gauff's French Open victory? Instead of crediting Gauff's incredible skill and determination, Sabalenka tried to attribute the win to weather conditions, as if both players weren't dealing with the exact same circumstances. This is the playbook. Refuse to credit black opponents for their skill, attribute their wins to external factors, question their deserving nature, and when all else fails, attack their character with coded racist language. It's a systematic way of diminishing achievements that should be celebrated, and it's been happening for far too long without real consequences. But Taylor Townsend isn't just any player, and this lawsuit isn't just about money. This is about sending a message that racist behavior will have real consequences. $50 million might sound like revenge, but it's actually justice. It's saying that if you want to use racist language and try to diminish black women's achievements, you're going to pay for it in ways that actually matter. The financial implications for Ostapenko are absolutely devastating. We're talking about someone whose current brand partnerships include DK1, the Latvian sportswear company she's been with since 2022, plus her Wilson equipment deal. She's had major partnerships with Nike and Adidas in the past, and those kinds of million-dollar deals are exactly what's at risk now. Corporate sponsors have zero tolerance for racist associations, and when you're facing a $50 million lawsuit for racist behavior, those endorsement deals start looking like major liabilities. Companies don't want drama, and they definitely don't want to be associated with players who can't control themselves enough to avoid racist outbursts. The risk assessment is simple. Keep a player who brings racist controversy, or cut ties and protect the brand. Guess which way that calculation is going to go. But the fan response has been just as powerful as any corporate decision. Taylor's supporters are mobilizing in ways that would make any publicist nervous. We're talking grassroots activism, creative protest methods, tournament signs calling out racist behavior. Taylor herself has endorsed this kind of fan activism, understanding that sometimes change requires community pressure, not just legal pressure. Let's talk about the character comparison here, because the contrast couldn't be more obvious. Taylor. Townsend represents everything that's right about professional tennis. She's shown incredible resilience throughout her career, surviving systemic challenges that would break most people. She's overcome body shaming, discrimination, and constant questioning of whether she belongs at the highest level of the sport. She's had to fight for every opportunity, prove herself over and over again, and she's done it all while maintaining the kind of class and dignity that should be the standard for professional athletes. Meanwhile, Ostapenko's attempted character assassination completely backfired, exposing her own ignorance and bias for the world to see. She embarrassed herself with behavior that has no place in professional sports, and now she's facing consequences that could end her career. Some people want to make excuses, talking about Eastern European cultural differences or childhood influences. We've heard theories about systemic indoctrination, regional normalization of racist attitudes, even explanations about how growing up in certain cultures might make this kind of behavior seem acceptable. But here's the thing. Personal responsibility doesn't disappear because of your background. Professional athletes competing on the world stage don't get to hide behind cultural excuses when they engage in racist behavior. This lawsuit represents something much bigger than one incident between two players. It's about accountability in professional sports. It's about consequences for behavior that's been tolerated for too long. It's about Black athletes finally having the resources and support to fight back when they're targeted with racist attacks. The stakes couldn't be higher. For Ostapenko, we're talking about potential career destruction on multiple levels. Financial ruin from the lawsuit, reputation damage that could last forever, loss of endorsement deals worth millions, and possible policy changes that could affect how the sport handles racist behavior going forward. The question isn't whether Ostapenko will survive this controversy. It's whether professional tennis will finally start taking racist behavior seriously enough to prevent it from happening again. Taylor Townsend's $50 million legal response isn't just about one incident or one opponent. It's about changing the game entirely, making sure that racist trash talk comes with consequences that actually matter, and proving that Black athletes don't have to just take abuse and move on anymore. This is justice in action, and it's about time.